Okay, so this is the death and burial of Jacob. So Jacob commanded to his sons that when he dies, he said, I shall come to my own people in death. So you shall bury me in the field of Ephron, of the of Ephron the
Hittite.
Hittite, in Machpelah, east of Mamre. You shall bury
Where
me
is that?
in Canaan, the land of Canaan. You shall bury me in the cave there, where my fathers were buried. That is where Abraham and Sarah were buried. And that is where Isaac and Rebekah were buried, my father and mother, and that is where I buried Leah. So that the land, the field and the cave were bought from the Hittites. And after Jacob had given them these instructions, he lay down and died. I don't know how he knew that he was going to die. Maybe God told him or something. Okay, so now Joseph wept. He wept a lot. And okay. So of course he wept a lot, and he threw himself crying and kissing his father. And he ordered his father to be embalmed to his soldiers. He ordered to his soldiers that his father be embalmed. And it took 40 days for Jacob, to be embalmed. For that's the time you kind of have to wait until the person gets embalmed. And the Egyptians cried over Jacob for like 70 days. 70. Now, when the time of mourning was over, Joseph went to the king's officials and asked the king's officials to tell the king that he had promised his father to bury him in the cave, in the field of Ephron in Canaan. So he told the king's officials to tell the king and to see if the king will allow him. So the king said, you shall bury your father there in the field of Ephron as you promised him, in the cave. So Joseph, he was going to go, but the king's officials came with him, and his family, his brothers, and his other families, and his father's family or relatives, and and soldiers came with him. So only the cattle and the sheep and the animals, stayed in Goshen, and men who were in charge and men in horseback also came with him. So it was a big group. When they came finally to the threshing place at Atad, where the funeral was going to be, they all mourned very loudly very loudly. They all mourned a lot. So like Joseph also performed a mourning ceremony, you know, funeral ceremony, uh, for like 7 days, sad ceremony for 7 days. So like the people of Canaan, they heard the mourns of the Egyptians and thought this was very sad. And so they named the place Abel Mizraim, which means the mourning of the Egyptians. So they were very sad, and they had now buried Jacob. So and then after that, Joseph and his brothers and the other people who came with him to the funeral went back to Egypt. Yeah.